Welcome to our October 21st edition of Gold and Black Live, joined by Tom Dienhart, our associate editor, but also the football beat writer for Purdue football at goldandblack.com. I want to thank our sponsors, Triple X on the hill, but on the level of Purdue tradition since 1929. Tom and I have had a couple Dwayne Purvises there over the years. A lot of good spot. Kind of sounds good right now, actually, but it always does. State Farm agent Trent Johnson. Trent is my agent.com. Trent will be, as I said, I always admire Trent because he and Dave Mecklenburg and his refereeing crew. There's always a shortage of referees around the state of Indiana, and this guy goes out and does it. He'll be at Seeger tonight. Tom knows where that is, near West Lebanon, Indiana, on the plains, and he'll have a warm night, which is a good thing because the weather is going to be really nice here in the Lafayette area here the next couple of days. And Tom, going to be good in Madison tomorrow. You know, it's funny. I can remember. I don't know where you were in 2003. It was a warm, nice day. Game day was there. I can remember a picture of Arnett Tiller on the set with Kirk Herbstreit, and she was doing the boiler up thing. And it was a nice, warm day back in mid-October 2003. Can history repeat itself finally? Is Purdue going to put a final end to that streak up in Madison? I know the Boilermakers are a couple-point underdog.
Yeah, boy, a lot of history to unpack for Purdue, Alan.
Yeah,
Talked about the 15-game losing streak, 18 years. And, of course, man, I tell you what, the first Purdue loss in this streak, 2004. I don't need to remind anybody watching this, the symbolism there and I guess the descent that is sort of kicked off, right? But I don't want to go there. A lot of positivity, Alan, and you'd think, Purdue has a good shot here, right? They are a 2-point underdog, which is a little surprising given
Wisconsin it is me too.
Struggles. But yeah, I guess we understand, we get it. It's all right there for the Boilermakers, all right. Offensively, I think this team's playing really well. Aiden O'Connell is at an elite level, at least he was last week. I don't suspect he's going to take any steps back with the way he's throwing the football. And Allen, they've got a ground game now with Devin Mockabee, and that just makes this offense more effective. Yes, Charlie Jones is beat up. He's been dealing with lower body stuff all year, though, Allen, and he has not been a regular participant in practices. Jeff Brom said last night he had no comment when asked if Charlie had practiced this week. So my guess is he probably didn't practice. But I still think he's probably going to suit up. I'll be surprised if he doesn't suit up. The whole goal all week is all year has been to get him to Saturdays.
Yeah.
And you do whatever you can to get number 15 to Saturdays. So I don't think there should be much hand-wringing there unless I'm way off base. So again, Purdue's coming up there with a hot offense. I know the defense has had its issues, pass defense. Believe me, they're doing all they can to button up the leaks. But they are really good against the run, Allen, and that's always important when you're playing Wisconsin. So, yeah, think about this, buddy. If they can be 6-2, 4-1 heading into this off week, the possibilities are endless. And also, Allen, something that you did earlier this week on your, I guess, sort of your Monday night memories, the 4-0 October of 2000, Allen, that's the last time Purdue won 4 Big Ten games in a row. Crazy enough, here we are in another October. Purdue's trying to do that for the first time since October of 2000, win 4 Big Ten games in a row. Of course, Alan, we all know what happened in the 2000 season, right? I'm not saying Purdue's going to the Rose Bowl, but just like 2000, the 2022 season could be shaping up to be pretty special too.
Yeah, no doubt. It goes through Wisconsin. The great former Golden Black intern Craig Terrell's block of a field goal, long field goal, and of course Ashante Woodyard's he called a scoop and score, and I think the whole Purdue sideline ran down into that end zone at Madison. Not Purdue's last victory, but its second to last victory in Madison. Of course, the last one in 2003 when Ben Jones kicked an 18-yard field goal, but Kyle Orton threw 55 times in that game as Purdue took a passing path to victory in that game against the Badgers. I think Purdue was ranked 13th and Wisconsin was 14th. This is a different Wisconsin team. I mean, obviously the Badgers have gone through the turmoil of a coaching change. Jim Leonard brings a certain type of flavor to this football team at Wisconsin, and yet the Badgers are 3-4. they're fighting for their lives because I would think that they would certainly want to be in a bowl game, and this is a big game for them too. And just the fact that you have the opportunity to come back home, this will be Jim Leonard's first game, right, as the interim at home as well. So Badgers got a lot to play for too.
You're darn right, Alan. Their season is threatening to circle the drain, if you ask me. 3-4 overall, 1-3. Their issues are well documented. Jim Leonard's 1-1 as the interim boss, coming off a bad loss at Michigan State. You can't sugarcoat it, buddy. And he's auditioning for this job. That seems to be the general feeling.
Yeah.
Most people think it's his job, but this is his chance to show his stuff, right? So far, I think it's a mixed bag, and I think there's some pressure. You come home, it's homecoming. You've been kicking Purdue for 15 times in a row. You know they want to win, and they would love to knock off this hot Purdue team. So yeah, a real sense of urgency there for Leonard and this Badger program, Alan. But again, this Badger program is not a vintage ilk. I'm talking to people up there. The offensive line's had its problems. It's always the hallmark in Madison, right? There's only really one playmaking receiver. Their best tight ends are hurt. They do have a top flight running back in Braylon Allen. Their quarterback, Graham Mertz, has sort of become a punching bag up there, I guess. Just has never developed like people thought. And defensively, the back end, they've really struggled too. And they've had their share of injuries in the front seven. So they're limping into this thing too with far from a full deck and with personnel issues. So everybody's got a sad song to tell you right now, don't they, Alan? And Wisconsin's is sad. And Purdue, by and large, is relatively healthy, I think. And they're equipped. They should have plenty of swagger, Alan. When you're playing a team like Wisconsin that's struggling, you got to punch them right away. Don't give them any hope. Punch them in the nose, make them sulk and think, here we go again. So getting off to a quick start is always important, never more so for Purdue than I think this Saturday up in Madison.
Yeah, the Badgers have been beaten twice at home this year. Washington State stuck them, and that was probably the first sign of trouble when we saw that score back in September. And then, of course, Illinois pounded them 34-10 in Paul Chryst's last game as the head football coach at Wisconsin. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think Purdue has to come in and do it. It's going to be interesting, though, if you're Purdue. You got Aiden O'Connell. It's got to be even more healthy, though he certainly had a great game last week. Devin Mockabee, Jeff Brom, his MO is taking what the defense can give them. And yet, Mockabee was certainly Nebraska possessed or presented a front that gave him some opportunity. You see Purdue still airing it out there, or Wisconsin's been pretty vulnerable in the back end. It seems to me that might make some sense. That whatever they do, Jeff Brom's going to do whatever it takes. He doesn't care whether Mockabee gets 100 yards or not. He just wants to score points and have Mockabee involved in that offense, maybe even as a pass catcher.
Yeah, he's shown patience, right? And he's done exactly what you said, Alan. He's taken what defenses are giving him. And for the first half of the year, not surprisingly, they've tried to take away the deep pass and dare Purdue to run the football. Some years, Purdue's not able to really take advantage of that, Alan. And like I said off the top, they certainly can this year with the redshirt freshman, Devin Mockabee. And let's give some credit to the offensive line, which has often been maligned the last 6 years. Doing a yeoman's work with just 6 guys. Maybe one of Brom's best fronts, his best since I think his first one in 2017. So they're getting a push. But Mockabee's the real difference maker, I think, Alan. Just think about the fact if King Drew had not gotten hurt in that opener, missed 4 games, we wouldn't even be seeing this probably, right? Just like O'Connell got his chance because of injury too. So life is really a funny thing, isn't it? They always say luck is where opportunity meets preparation, right?
Yeah.
Devin Mockabee certainly was prepared, just like Aiden O'Connell was. We're seeing the fruits of all of his dedication. And again, go ahead and dare Purdue to run Wisconsin. I think Purdue's shown with Devin Mockabee that he's a cut above anything they've got at running back. He can make you pay. And then if you're getting gassed by Mockabee, we all know what's next, right? Play action passes down the field. So for Purdue, again, just don't turn the ball over. Don't give up easy scores. Make Wisconsin earn everything. And again, if this Purdue offense can hit with some big plays and get a lead, make Graham Mertz throw the ball 40 times a game, Allen, boy, that's a recipe for a lot of Purdue success, I think.
Yeah, Purdue has dealt well with some good running backs. Sean Tucker, obviously Syracuse, who's had a huge year outside of the Purdue game. Braylon Allen ran for 140 last year. Chad Maluzzi, and I'm always mispronouncing his name, had 150. He's injured in Wisconsin's 34-13 win in Ross-Ade last year. You think that, it seems to me that the Purdue will try to swallow him whole, so to speak, try to keep him down and force Graham Mertz into 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 situations as much as possible, one would think.
Yeah, Malusi's out, and you're exactly right. Purdue's done a great job against the run this year. Still have not given up a 100-yard rusher.
It's amazing for Purdue, especially. It's amazing.
Still only have allowed 3 rushes of over 20 yards.
Yeah.
So that just blows me away. They used to be like in 1/2.
Yeah.
But anyway, the run defense, that's where it always starts. And again, then people are going to point to the pass defense. And again, Jeff Brom talked about that in his final word on Thursday. And of course, they're working on it. He pointed out too, and others have, well, this is a veteran secondary, Alan. It's not like they got a true freshman, a redshirt freshman back there. You got a true senior in Cam Allen, a true junior in Sanusi Kane. You got 3 fifth-year senior cornerbacks.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of playing smarter, I think, and maybe some scheme adjustments. And so again, I will say this though too, Alan. Defense can't do everything. You can't serve every master. You got to pick what you want to do. And Purdue wants to slow down the run. And when you do that, you're going to be vulnerable to the pass, right?
Yeah.
And I think Purdue's bled too much for anybody's liking, right? But they are going to give up some big plays through the air if you're going to dedicate yourself to slow down the run. And you've got to in the Big Ten and most football leagues, especially when you're talking about playing Wisconsin, right? How many times we've seen them run right through Purdue for 300 or 400 yards rushing? You got no shot to win those games. So take your chances with Graham Mertz trying to throw the ball over your head. They don't have a Trey Palmer at wide receiver. Graham Mertz isn't even Casey Thompson. They're still talented players. They're not of that ilk. And it's still, if you're Purdue, if you're on English, that's where you're going to try to make Wisconsin beat you, is through the air, throwing the football with a quarterback who really has never developed into the 4-star prospect he was coming to Wisconsin from Kansas.
Yeah, and a guy that they had a lot of hopes for, and of course he started his career, what was it, 21 or 22 or whatever he was, 20 or 21, his first game in COVID against Illinois, and he looked like the reincarnation of Ron Paulus. I remember back in the day when Paulus got off to a good start. He has been the reincarnation of Ron Paulus.
I thought you were going to say Darrell Bevel.
Yeah, yeah, just using the guy that started off as. Yeah, so it is opportunity in front of Purdue, and that's what's an interesting thing. A guy also had a big game last year against Wisconsin, Payne Durham. Again, it's Jim Leonard's defense last year, so you would have to think you're going to see some things again. They really bottled up David Bell last year, if you remember. I think he had 9 catches for like 50 yards. He just had a very unproductive day for him. But Purdue was able to throw it a little bit to Payne Durham. Of course, Purdue had struggled offensively so mightily last year. They had to scoop and score by George Karlaftis and only 1 other touchdown. So Purdue has struggled just to move against Jim Leonard's defenses. But again, I think you've mentioned very clearly that this is not the same Wisconsin defense. It's good, but it's not as great as it's had been. They don't have the linebackers they've had that they've back there as well. So all those things could really play into make it an interesting afternoon.
You're right. The linebacker play is not of its same brand that we've been used to. And I talked earlier too about some injuries up front. Yeah, they brought some transfers in the back end. They've never really developed as a unit. Just talking against some people up there, they've been kind of disappointed with the play of the back end. And if you're Purdue, that sort of makes you sit up in your chair a little bit straighter when you hear that, right? And you mentioned Payne Durham. He was relatively quiet last week.
Yeah. And
that's a good guy to highlight, Alan. Maybe this is a big Payne Durham game. And we know about Charlie Jones. He sort of had a reemergence last week.
Yeah, no question.
And then we got TJ Sheffield, Mershawn Rice, guys like that sort of still floating about as options who are certainly shown that they can make plays when called upon, especially Sheffield, right? That nice touchdown catch he had last week where he caught it and spun and dove over the goal line. So plenty of weapons, I think, for the offense. And talked about Devin Mockabee catching the ball too, Alan. I think he has 13 receptions this year. So just if you're pushing buttons on your play card and you're Jeff Brom, you got a lot of good options, I think. And the health of this team, I talked about Charlie Jones at the top. Of course, Chris Jefferson will be out. Still no word on when he will return. Of course, Brock Thompson is still out. Alan, I think we may see him after the bye against Iowa on November 5th. King Drew will suit up. We saw him last week. He wasn't 100%. And the linebacker OC Brothers, who's missed the last 2 weeks with a knee injury, Jeff Brom said he's going to be a game time decision. So overall, as you can see, Alan, they're not in that bad a shape. Everybody's got bumps and bruises we probably don't know about. But overall, they're going to be pretty close to full stock here on Saturday at 3:30 Eastern time when this thing kicks.
Yeah, going to be a fun and very engaging time, because let's take one quick look down the road, because if Purdue can get this win, Illinois is staring the Boilermakers in the face in a couple of weeks. Iowa at home, which won't be easy. I mean, Iowa really struggles offensively, but they're good enough defensively to keep themselves in just about every game they play. We'll find out this week when they go to Ohio State. That may be a different story, but it is, it's all in front for Purdue. I mean, if this is just why this game is such a huge hurdle, and if you can get over that hurdle, you got a chance to get to where you need to get to.
Yeah, you're right. It's crazy the success that Purdue has had on the road, Alan. I posted a notebook Friday morning that chronicles a lot of Purdue's success on the road of late, and they're going for they're going for their 3 Big Ten road wins in a row. And they've had 3 Big Ten road games in a row, Alan, dating to last year's win at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Western, of course. Then this year they've won at Minnesota and at Maryland. So they're going for, I guess, a 4th Big Ten road game in a row to win.
Yeah.
And my research, that hasn't happened since the 2006-07 season. They closed 2006 with 3 wins on the road in the Big Ten. And then they opened 2007. They won at Minnesota. So unbelievable success on the road. 7-3, Allen, in their last 10 games away from Ross-Ade Stadium, dating to 2001. So it's really been a good run for Purdue on the road. The ability to circle the wagons and play well and get wins has been a big reason why they've had this run of success here.
No doubt. And we'll have predictions on the site, probably on right now at goldenblack.com. As you break that down even further, it'll be fun afternoon. Great weather up there also. So you making the drive up there today is a good thing. Beautiful fall weather on the way up to Madison. It's going to be windy up there. That's going to be one little thing. It's going to be windy in Lafayette too. So that will always make it a little bit interesting, but it beats the heck out of 29 degrees and snow. So yeah. that part is true. So, all right, Tom, thanks so much. Appreciate always your expertise, and have safe travels up to Madtown. It's always fun up there too. It's a great environment for college football. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that. Even when the Badgers,
Alan's homecoming.
Yeah, Purdue seems to be like everybody's homecoming these days. I guess this time of year, if you're playing a road game, there's a good chance you are a homecoming opponent, and the Boilermakers are just that. And we will be back. Segment 2, Tom Moreland, Purdue's associate athletic director, who handles a lot of his job is revenues at Purdue, and we'll have a lot of talk about the money stream and all that goes into that. And then, of course, Tyler Oakes he'll give us our kid a gambling review and then some of what he expects not only this weekend, but a little bit about how he goes about it. He is as good as it gets in terms of analyzing that stuff, crazy stuff, and crazy that's what we do now. But that's what we do now in the world of college sports. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thanks to our sponsors, Triple X and State Farm agent Trent Johnson. We'll see you in a couple more minutes on Golden Black Live.